Okay, so I hit the wrong button and we're starting over, but that's okay. So this area is where the greenhouse is going to go. We had an old barn here. It was what we called the hog house, and the foundation was so bad we had to start taking it down. So it's halfway down, and now we had to take a break for the summer with other stuff. So once we get that disassembled and cleared, then this area will become the greenhouse. This patch right here, besides some nice big horseweed, there's an elderberry tree back in there that we do harvest some of the berries off of, and you can see I have to beat the birds to it sometimes, but you can see the berries coming. Doop, right there. And then these right here are my Jerusalem artichokes that I harvest and sell the tuber roots for people, and they can do whatever they want with them. They plant them. They have a fairly, after all that foliage, a fairly insignificant bloom on the top, daisy bloom. So people do plant it for the plant, but some people also eat the artichoke. So yeah, and here is our barns that we have the cows in this one, and we have this one that we're working on restoring very gradually as cash flow allows. So we got the foundation redone a few years ago. We got the roof redone, and now we're gonna start working on the siding and the doors. So okay, here we go. Okay, so up here is where we stopped. The large tree, well, yeah, at least the large tree on your right is a mulberry. I think the white mulberry is the only one that I've seen on the invasive list for Indiana. However, we have a lot of these, which we discussed on the walk. I always called them a black mulberry. They're actually a red mulberry. And we talked about all the different kinds. So with the red mulberry, you have a lot of hybridized trees, and those are more of the invasive. There is a native red mulberry that is becoming scarce, and we found one, so I'll show you that one here in a little bit. But how you can tell the difference, they said, is see how shiny the leaves are on this red mulberry. So that's a sign of the more invasive hybridized type. The native one has more of a rougher texture, matted kind of a leaf. So we'll see that one in a minute. And this is where we kind of talked about a lot of the invasives that everybody was going to see, and to be careful of the poison ivy and nettles and all that fun stuff we have here. So, okay, next stop will be the native mulberry tree. Sorry, I forgot. We did point out this. This is a cedar. This is a native tree that we have growing around, and I'm hoping to harvest some seedlings from it and be able to sell them in potted form soon. Okay, so here is the native red mulberry. And I had actually stopped the tour to ask some of these people in the tour if they knew why the mulberries on this are so much larger. I don't know if you can see them. Probably not. But the mulberries are awesome on this tree. They're just huge compared to the other mulberry trees. And I was asking why. And so that's when the guy showed me that this is actually one of the native ones. So you can see the leaf, and that it's matted. It's not shiny. Has big lobes, large. Everything's big. The leaves are big, and the fruit is big. And so one of the guys on the tour actually took a branch and he is going to do cuttings and try to get some starts, because with this tree it doesn't, I don't have any seedlings around it. I don't get little trees off of this. It's really interesting. So hopefully he has success with that, because he's supposed to be growing one for me too. Okay, and we're gonna head back a couple fields. Okay, so here is, we kind of talked about the Dutch elm disease when we saw this tree. This is one of the elms that we have that die. They only get to a certain age and then they die. It's great for morel mushrooms because you can find them around them, but not really great for getting large elm trees, and they're a beautiful tree. We do have one really large one. He's all by himself on the front lane, and I'll try to include him when we walk that way. I'm trying to keep any damage from happening to him, so he doesn't have any open wounds, to try and keep him alive as long as possible. We did have another discussion at this point about the mulberries, because the question came up that some mulberries are their male and female trees, because some of them do not bear fruit ever, and nobody had an answer for that. So if somebody has an answer, let us know. We did talk a lot about habitat too, with all the animals that we have here. We have deer, of course. We have turkeys. I've seen some, I don't know, other birds. But we do feed a lot of wildlife coming through. Raccoons, possums, rabbits, coyotes, fox. We do have fox. He's not blue. He is not blue. She. She's a red fox. But anyway, we talked about, this is an old pear tree. And we usually don't get any pears off of it because the deer beat us to it. But it did get hit by a storm, so half of it fell a few years ago. But there's a couple other pear trees around. Here's a great example of grapevine, which is not on the invasive list, but as far as I'm concerned, it should be. It can pull a whole tree down. You can see how huge this one is, and I'm not really sure how old it is, but they can get pretty big. This tree, I don't know if you can see it. So something that I learned on the tour from someone is they came up to me with a walnut, and they asked me, is this a black walnut or a butternut? I didn't even know that we had butternut here, but after looking up the comparison descriptions, I'm pretty sure we have several butternuts, and I've been whacking them down, not really understanding why the bark is different on these walnuts. They smell like a walnut. The walnut is very similar, except it's more oval than round. So yeah, I didn't even know. I learned a lot from the tour too. In the spring, this area is covered with violas. And I'm trying to think what else is in this area. I know there was multiple different colors of violas that grew in this area. Yeah, shoot. That's all that I can think of that was in here. But there's a natural spring. There's a lot of natural springs around the farm, but there is a natural spring in here, over in there somewhere, where we have lots of wildlife come up to drink. But it also keeps all this area kind of moist, which we haven't had rain in a while, so it's a little dry right now. So this is where we started turning and heading up the hill. But I pointed out to everyone, see if I can do this with my finger. My hand looks so big. Okay, so that wood's back there. That is where just this spring we found some large areas of Trillium grandiflorum, which is the white trillium. We found blue cohosh, black cohosh, spring beauty, all naturalized and growing in that backwoods. So that was super exciting for me. Mayapple, and that's probably what was in that past area too, was mayapple. I have patches of that everywhere. And ramp, the wild leeks. So this area over in here too, you can almost see a big apple tree. These are all, the birds did this, but they do make awesome applesauce and awesome apple cider. But we do have a lot of natives that grow in this woods also. We have 5 to 6 woods, I think we counted up. And they're all different. We have 7 to 8 different types of soils. So we have different things growing in each of the woods, which is really cool. It gives us more diversity in what we can offer. Coming up here, I'm sorry you guys have to look at dog butts clear through the whole tour, but that's my view every time I go for a walk, pretty much. And Thelma apparently has some kind of a skin thing, so she's been chewing on her butt. We did have to stop for a snack. The blackberries are ripe, really ripe. They're not my favorite. I like the raspberries a lot better. I think these, and these are all wild. The birds did these. We didn't plant these. These just have too many seeds in them for me, but they do have pretty good flavor. This is where I warned everyone that it's all up here from, all uphill from here. And they laughed and I said, no, really, it's all uphill.